Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for things that you need to stop and or shop for. And today's special is fresh water. That's right, plain generic water sold to you in this fancy looking bottle for the already low price of 200 Pokédollars. It is touted to have a high mineral count, thus granting you or your Pokemon lovely natural benefits, or at the very least making you think that you're receiving some kind of benefit. And today this fresh water can be yours for the simple cost of subscribing to Team PokeMart. It's like a vending machine, really. Just press that red button on your screen, now do it, and out will pop a dubious bottle of water. So please do enjoy your future refreshment. But today at Team PokeMart, I am here to discuss the concept of genericism in general, but more specifically instead of generally, because generally describing genericism would be peak irony indeed. In any case, this is because genericism is not just found in our Team PokeMart refreshment products, but it can also be spotted in the world of Pokemon at large, because there are rather undeniably a wide range of, less than magnificent creatures out there who are given something of a fancy name and then sold as magical battle beasts. And as an upstanding participant of the merchant class, I feel it is my duty to inform customers of exactly how you may be getting ripped off by the following budget monsters. And before we examine the culprits, I will say that this list will not be including regional variants. I mean, yes, certain variants can be seen as a bit lazy design-wise, but then again, I assure you that placing a stovepipe hat and smoggy mustache on a Weezing is actually the pinnacle of creativity compared to some of the works that we're about to see here. So please do sit back and allow me to take you, dearest customer, on an uninspiring journey through the top 10 most uncreative Pokemon. And we'll start with number 10 because I think that's a fairly reasonable place to begin, and that will be the Vanillite line. Yes, not one, not two, but three chilly offenders here to kick things off. And look, I have nothing against ice cream. I like ice cream. In fact, some of my best friends are ice cream, which is sad, but true. However, to look at this line and claim that it is a well-designed series of Pokemon is utter madness because it is essentially plagiarism. All that happened in this case was a designer wandered up to an ice cream truck, took a look at their menu, stuck googly eyes on all of the items, and just called it an evolution line. Day of work done. I mean, look, we have our child-size scoop, our regular scoop, and our double scoop for the people of culture, because why would you ever go for the single scoop when a double is on offer? It just makes no sense. And apart from the broad concept of let's add more ice cream, nothing really changes in the Vanillite line either. It never develops a distinct personality. I mean, it's just a consistently derpy face that tells me even it is wondering exactly why it exists. And I would say that the only salvaging feature of this line is that it represents the delicious concept of mega ice cream. I mean, this thing weighs allegedly close to 60 kilos, which is, that's a lot of ice cream, perhaps even too much. Although whether or not such a thing is even possible, I will leave up to you. As we move on to number 9, where we find a Pineco, which initially looks like a fairly obvious case of lazy design and naming, by the way. I mean, when your Pokemon looks like a pine cone and all you decide to do is remove the N and E from its name and call it a day, well, quite frankly, you don't deserve to be making the money you do. You should try working in retail. Do you think I could get away with that kind of laziness? No. Upper management would demote me quicker than you can say pine cone, which weirdly enough is almost exactly as quick as saying Pineco. So it doesn't even save much time there. But I should point out that Pineco is actually a bug Pokemon and not in fact a pine cone. It is meant to be more of a bagworm style creature that resembles the form of a pine cone, so that's nice, I suppose. But at the same time, I can't help but apply that to our previous example. Oh, it looks like vanilla ice cream and it's named vanilla ice cream, but it is in fact a bowl of white chocolate fudge. It wouldn't make a difference. This thing is still a pinecone-like object named Pineco, and good on it, I guess. At least it knows what it is. Next up, we have our number 8, another full evolution line of Clink, Clang, and Clinklang. And firstly, let's just take note that the initial stage of this line is a perfect example all on its own, because it's just the same gear face thing copied and pasted. Control C and Control V. I mean, at least the double scoop ice cream thing had different faces. That's why that was number 10 and this is number 8. But look, that issue does rectify itself in future forms of the line, where they change the second face, and I suppose it does have an interesting evolutionary idea, which is that we're going to keep building more and more complex machinery. But in the end, even that does turn out to be a fairly uninspired and uncreative path, because basically when it became time to develop another evolution, the answer turned out to be, I don't know, let's add another cog. Trainers love cogs, and then whoever said that was probably celebrated and made president of the Pokemon Company, because that's the kind of thinking that we like in the corporate world. Next up though, in number 7 is a newer addition to this franchise, being Uplin, a Pokemon that I first saw and went, are you serious? It's an apple. I sell these here at Team PokeMart, and I know for a fact that they are absolutely abysmal at battling. But of course, the apple is not actually the Pokemon itself, which happens to be a dragon worm embedded into it. And this becomes more apparent in its subsequent evolutions, being Flapple and Appleton, which is quite posh sounding. I like it. And to be clear, I actually really enjoy both Flapple, despite its name, and Appleton, because I do think they explore the abstract extremes of how apple and dragon can fuse to create confusing pie-based creatures. However, Uplin itself is just, it's a worm in an apple. Certainly not the least creative Pokemon that we'll explore here today, but certainly not the most. And for number 6, I would like to rather unorthodoxically submit almost every generic bird in existence. So I stumbled across a bit of a problem when I was putting this list together, which was the realization that bland birds were a bit of a staple in the world of Pokemon. Whether they be a Pidgey, Pidove, Spearow, Taillow, Wingull, Toucannon, and ever so many more creatures ripped straight out of real life, shoved in a small ball, and labeled as a Pokeman. And likewise, I have to shove them all into one small ranking, because otherwise this whole list is just going to become dominated by foul, and we cannot have that. I should say that this mostly refers to the base stage Pokemon, and that hashtag not all birds follow this brand of genericism. Like take Rowlet for example. He's a pretty basic owl thing, but with one huge distinction. He has a bow tie. And just look at how adorable and clever he looks as a result. This is a brilliant design. However, this is a pigeon. And don't you try to fool me by giving it a cute name like Pidgey. I understand your tricks, and I refuse to fall for them any longer. Breaking into the top 5 now, and we have Porygon 2, who somehow manages to come equipped with the most uncreative name we've seen on this list thus far. And I will remind you that yes, we have already covered Pineco, so that's a pretty big statement to make. And yes, I suppose this name does make a certain degree of sense, but then again, I don't think I've accused the flat designs and uncreative names of not making sense, so that isn't a huge factor in Porygon 2's favor. But thematically, I suppose it's almost like an updated piece of software with far greater polygonal control than its predecessor. But even then, you honestly cannot tell me that when you first laid eyes upon Porygon 2, that you didn't think to yourself, well, that's a fairly lazy name. I mean, at least call it Porygon 2.0 if you wanted to go with the software theme. But I just looked at this and I thought, well, whoever was in charge of this had a hard time coming up with another name based on the word polygon, so they gave up and just made a sequel to the original Porygon. Good job, you, whoever you are. But let's keep this lazy momentum going with number 4. And this is going to be a shared spot between both Dugtrio and Magneton, for reasons that I am sure you can quite easily spot. Because Dugtrio is basically 3 Digletts in a hole, whilst Magneton is 3 Magnemites who have become stuck together through the wonderful mechanism of polarity. These are not new Pokemon. Dugtrio is basically a friendship group of Digletts who have decided to move in together, while Magneton are 3 Magnemites who have found themselves in a bit of a sticky situation. And what's worse is that these are Generation 1 Pokemon. This was back when the whole world of ideas was wide open. Nothing had been done yet, nothing. We weren't at the point where we needed to call upon the powers of ice cream as a creative influence, and for these two the mantra was, how do we evolve them? Well, how about we just stick a bunch of them together with tape? Although I will never deny the glory that is Alolan Dugtrio, which looks like the ultimate boy band, but even then it's just 3 Alolan Digletts who have each decided to look after each other's lusciously flowing hair. Still, even that is something compared to our number 3 contenders, Plusle and Minon. Now I have a confession to make, which is that I often forget these two exist at all. And that's primarily because my brain is already occupied with the existence of Pichu, who was already a questionable bout of quote-unquote creativity, but acceptable nonetheless, because it took the Pikachu model and made it even more adorable. Whereas Plusle and Minon take the Pichu model and do sweet with it. 2 electric mice, just with a dash of different color and some funky cheek symbols. But I suppose the worst part of this is that they didn't just clone Pichu once. This was actually used as an opportunity to create 2 quote-unquote new Pokemon. I mean, at least
Pachirisu
was an attempt to do basically the same, but with some actual effort put into it. It's kind of like a cute Pika Squirrel, and great, I'm here for that, maybe. But Plusle and Minon, look, instead of actively hunting for them, I'm just gonna catch 3 Pichus and paint 2 of them. Same difference, except at least the Pichus could then go into evolve into a Pikachu, evolving being one of those things that Plusle and Minon simply cannot do. Along with anything, really. I honestly don't know why they exist. But getting closer now, and number 2 is going to be Clefki. Quite possibly the most uninspiring Pokemon I have ever seen, because I know the story behind how it was created. I mean, I wasn't there and this is pure speculation, but I can take one look at Clefki and I can immediately tell you that it was 4:55 PM on a workday and a designer had a deadline to make by 5. And in an anxious rush to get home, the designer looked around for something, anything that could make a convincing Pokemon. Then they saw their house keys and went, good enough, and Clefki was born. A truly magnificent being that teaches us a very important lesson actually, being that even superb artists and designers also have their off days. And to examine the idea of an off day at its fullest, I now present to you the number 1 most uncreative Pokemon, being Voltorb and Electrode. Because yeah, they're just Pokeballs with faces. I don't really know what else to say about them, that's how devoid devoid of interesting content they are. Voltorb is a small ball and Electrode is a bigger ball. Although I guess I do like that with Electrode they did decide to flip around the red and the white colors, which is the absolute bare minimum they could have done to differentiate it from Voltorb and Pokeballs, but they did clear that bar, I suppose. So yay for Voltorb and Electrode, or more accurately, yay for their career names, Zizzagong and Boomball. Especially Boomball. I love Boomball. But there you have it, proof that the world of Pokemon also has its selection of underachievers, as does the world in general, which is why I'm currently a Team PokeMart manager instead of the Elite 4 champion Pokemon trainer that I once dreamed of being. And if you really wanted to make this comparison, then yes, I suppose that does make me the Voltorb of the human world. Oh dear. But please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart and say hi, which you can do in the comments below or even by joining our Discord server. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click these tantalizing links over here and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates of our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart and I'll see you next time.